Good morning.
Good morning.
I had volunteered to do this presentation some time ago, 2.5 years ago, when I joined this club and got back into the hobby. I had no idea what Logbook of the World was. And I wasted a lot of time before I found out what was going on, because things had changed through the years significantly. When I came to the club, one thing that had gotten my interest enough to get back into the hobby was DX, working DX. How many countries, entities as we call them, can I work? And I realized, well, it's not like I'm some young buck again and I got all the time in the world. I said, I'm going to have to get very serious, because there's 340 entities out there. And some of them, like the one that's happening, just came up last night, Ducie Island Atoll. It's azimuth 180 basically from here. It's out in the middle of the Pacific. There's a team there.
What exactly is the definition of a DX entity?
Whatever the ARRL committee says is.
Right, exactly right.
It could be a certain distance away from its mother country. It can be a political entity of itself. There's a long list of involved rules that make things an entity that counts for DXCC purpose. DXCC, by the way, Century Club, the premier award in ham radio, working and confirming contact with 100 foreign countries. We'll just call them foreign countries. Ducie Island came up on the air last night. The team's going to be there for 2 weeks. I was very fortunate, got them on 40 meters right away when they popped up. They are there ripe for the picking for anybody with HF radio in Kitsap County, because it's straight shot over salt water for us. And yeah, 100 watts and a wire, and you can get Ducie Island. But you have to have it confirmed. So that's what this is all about. Logbook of the World. We're going to, well, obviously answer the first question. Why? Why have something like Logbook of the World? Since the old days, or back in the old days, and this is important, say this with me, the final courtesy of a QSO is a QSL. Today, I am having an eyeball QSO with you. You all now have my QSL. We passed them all out. And that is not photoshopped, by the way. That's Hood Canal, me, one of my 18-footers. You need a confirmation. And in the old days, you sent cards. You still do. Lots of people use the cards. In fact, this is my card when I was operating from Malta 2 years ago. Back when I was a young pup. Yeah. And I made them up. This was the club station at the Coast Guard Radioman School. And I made up some cards. I didn't have any money to have cards made. So a bunch of us who were working the ham shack there, we made them up. Mind you, yeah, they were for free. The government paid for the expenses to get them printed, and lots of people did that. They made their own cards. Boy, it ain't the old days anymore. People get into very, very exotic cards. I think I did a nice job getting that one made of mine. I have several others by design.
How much did that cost you?
I got a great deal, and I'll take that off record with you after the meeting. But average, you can figure 10 cents a card. And a minimum, usually 500 cards in an order, something like that. And you got to get them overseas. The Forever stamp, thank God for Forever stamps, presently $1.20 each. That'll put it anywhere in the world for $1.20 US. But that gets your card there. Now you got to get a card back. And that usually means an SASE, self-addressed stamped envelope that you send along with your card, and usually put, what does it say, green stamps?
Green stamps, yep.
Green stamps. IRCs, the old international reply coupons, are not used anywhere in the world anymore. If you got a drawer full of them, burn them. There is a site out there where you can find out how much foreign postage is. Some countries, it's a deal. Other places, it's not. So if you want Iraq confirmed using a card, you're putting your card there and that expense, as well as printing your card, and you're paying for this guy to mail the card back in your envelope. Let's admit it. We're U.S. hams. We're expected to bear the brunt of the expense. If I'm in Iraq on the air, everybody wants my card. Everybody. I can't afford it. U.S., you pay the fare.
What about the Bureau?
We're not talking about antediluvian times. If you want to learn about bureaus, come to the DX convention in Everett next August. We'll have a presentation on the W7 Bureau. And I know the guys who run that bureau, and they're going to tell you the horror stories. So these days, here you go. This looks at a financial summary. If you want your DXCC, it's going to cost you about 520 bucks. That's just for the QSLs. We're not talking about the expense of the tower, the antennas, and everything else. Just for the admin overhead. Well, wouldn't you rather take that money and throw it into your shack, particularly your antenna? Enter your answer. The concept of the logbook of the world. Well, first off, how many people keep a log? How many don't? Do you operate HF? Okay. If you operate HF, I know the rules no longer require it. You should keep a log. We'll get into that why later. What Logbook of the World does is when you upload your contacts into it, it's got everybody's contacts in there, and it's doing matches. When I work Ducey last night, I logged it, uploaded it into the ARRL Logbook of the World. When they get back from their expedition, they'll take their 60,000 QSOs, they'll upload those. Mine will match. And I'll have the confirmation via Logbook of the World. And I'll have spent nothing. You need to use it if you want the awards. DXCC is an award. Worked all states, an award. Worked all zones. Worked all prefixes. All of these are very, very nice awards. And let's admit it, you'd like to say, hey, I'm a DXCC. Bert, there. I bow to Bert.
Thank you.
Not just a DXCC honor roll.
Yes.
He had, not presently, but had worked them all.
Yes.
Well, what's happened is some are off the table now and new ones have come in. I had Czechoslovakia years ago. There is no Czechoslovakia, so it's deleted. I had East Germany, deleted. I'm sure you probably had 3 dozen deleted, but new ones came in. Kosovo, Scarborough Reef, whole bunches of new ones popped in. As Yugoslavia broke up, all of those provinces in Yugoslavia became independent entities. How do you, you can't keep up with them. Now, this punchline is important. Since the awards are competitive, people will try to cheat. No one's going to take my card there and claim that they had a 160-meter contact with me. Right?
This is pretty tailored.
Yeah. And I go, I don't care. Go ahead and fill it in what you want. I'm just another Washington station, and you're all Washingtonian, so it's no big deal. However, if I were from Djibouti, yeah, I'm not going to hand you a card so that you can fill it out. And that's the idea of Logbook of the World. You want to put a system in where you can't cheat. They spent a lot of time at the league. Well, I'm not going to say at the league. Smart people who are members of the league, the committee, put the system together. But by making it hard to cheat, they made it difficult for a little bit of everybody. Some people say, the reason I don't use Logbook of the World, it's too damn difficult. And why do you have to have all the security on it? You know, is it atomic weapon release codes or something in there? No, they're just a bunch of ham data. But we want to respect the award, so that's why we made it hard to break. And remember, it's costing you nothing. You don't have to be an ARRL member. That's one myth. Everybody says, well, I can't use Logbook World, I'm not a member. Well, first off, shame on you for not being a member. The other is no, you don't have to be a member. It's free. So how do you do Logbook of the World? Well, you got to get registered. You have to contact the league. You can go online and request to join. First warning, you have to use your FCC license address. That's a security item. And let me tell you, you'd be surprised how many people don't use their FCC address. They don't want people to know where they live. Well, I'm sorry, the FCC says that's where you're licensed to operate. So make sure that when you put in your request, you use that address, because that's what the league's going to do, because they're going to send you a postcard. And if you got some address someplace else, that's where the postcard's going to go. And let's admit it, it's technical. You have to know how to use a mouse. Which end of the mouse to use? Yes? And I'm saying reread the second requirement. Know how to use your mouse. You can enter everything manually on the computer, but don't. Online, there's an FAQ, very, very good multi-page explanation of Logbook of the World on the ARRL website. And they'll take you through the painful process of using the TQSL software and uploading your QSOs one at a time, rekeying all the information into it. No. Go find yourself your favorite good up-to-date logging program, because all of the good ones will have a simple click, upload all my data into Logbook of the World for me. After a contest, for instance, I know Doug does this, he takes his 1,000 cues from the weekend and does a mouse click and sends them up to the Logbook of the World when the contest is over, or within the next day or so, right, Doug? It's been around enough and gotten all its tweaks, and let's admit it, the instructions are pretty damn clear online. They do a great job with the ARRL site right there. And then a quick start too, if you want to read the full manual. The very fine manual.
Just read the manual and let your imagination fill in.
Right, exactly. Yes, normally the manual says they'll give you the link to go get the program for one at a time manual stuff. Don't. Just don't. Don't worry about encryption keys. That's all part of the stuff behind there. One thing I do recommend against, when you set up your Logbook of the World, they will prompt you to put in a password for your TQSL application, separate from your password online, just for the application. Don't, because you're going to forget it, or something's going to happen and you'll lose it, or you have to reinstall on a different computer and you'll have forgotten what it was, or you'll make a typo and now it ain't going to work at all, in which case you got to start over. Don't. When it prompts you for a personal password for the application TQSL to put on that certificate, don't. Now, don't spend all your time with your log, because the log's useless unless you're getting up on the air and working people. So get up, work people, work, 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 work. Get them logged, get them logged, get them logged. Mess with the logs after the fact. Ducey's there for next 2 weeks, work Ducey. Don't worry about logging Ducey and the confirmation until Ducey's over with. Concentrate on getting to work Ducey. I worked him at 2 a.m. 40 meters wasn't stable last night for me when you're coming up, and all the JAs were in. Let me tell you, one little guy in Washington trying to take on these 10,000 Japanese trying to work these guys. I wasn't going to sit there in a pile up. I said, I know, 40 meters later is going to be wonderful for me. And it was. 2 a.m. popped up, I gave one call, boom. By the way, N7QT, Rob, club member, gave a presentation about Mellah Sharif, known DXer. He's on the team for Ducey. And he is the FT8 operator for them. So FT8 guys, easy pickings. When you get your postcard back, when you first go to sign up, you go to that website, the instructions are on the postcard. And that's where you'll put in personal information and everything that you need to get up and operating. It's a two-step process. You got to get the postcard first. They have to be assured that you are who you are before they give you permission to set up. That's important for overseas people. It's easy for us because we got an online FCC database that we trust. Not necessarily there. We've relaxed the requirements for the foreign operators. It used to be they had to send in everything but a DNA sample before they could log on. They've relaxed that to all the ARRL needs is a copy of whatever their operating license looks like. Reasonable facsimile. It does not have to be the original. When you get the email after the postcard, follow the instructions. Simple as that. You have to save a certificate onto your computer. That way, when you log on, it encrypts. The data is not passed in the clear. And you're authenticating that it's you, not someone else piggybacking on you or claiming to be you because perhaps your password got compromised. That sometimes screws people up because it basically says it is now tied to the computer where that certificate, that security certificate lies. Read between the lines. You can take that certificate and move it also to another computer and run TQSL from there as well. I have it on my laptop as well as 2 of the PCs at home. Your question?
Yes, does the ARRL require you to update your password periodically?
No. You can, if you want to. Very easy. It's not going to be a nice password. You can request a new password. They will generate one for you. And it's not going to be your birthday.
Most transactions are cryptographically signed with certificate.
Yes,
plus your password.
yes,
There's
yes.
no need to change your password.
Right.
In fact, you'll probably break it if you try.
So I hope between the 2 monitors you can see this is what happens when you launch TQSL, which you never really want to have to do. This is the application that comes with so that you can start up. And basically, I can point out a few of these. That's mine. That's what mine looks like if I sign in with my TQSL. It shows all of my call sign location combinations. For instance, my old call sign, prior to being W7CD. French Polynesia, when I was in the Marquesas, all these combinations, because each of those is a different database in Logbook of the World. That way they don't mix up. Yes. So as I say, one at a time, you get a screen for entering your QSO. Don't. Use your logging software to do the logging and use it to upload the stuff. And as I say, every logbook program is different. I have my favorites. You may too. I'm just saying, make sure that it's kept up to date by its author. Also, kept up to date by its author because of the changes that occur to operating systems. Redmond drives me nuts at times with changes and updates because it changes so many things on my Flex radio again. There's no knobs on it. I'm controlling it from the computer. And I hate changes that come from Redmond because it changes all the settings. So, why do I want to do this? Who cares, right? Maybe you do. There's some numbers. Chew on that. I am now at 295. And without Logbook of the World, I would not have been able to buy that Flex radio. I never would have had that stepper antenna because all the money would have been spent QSLing without Logbook of the World. I've saved a fortune. And the goal is, I mean, it's a bucket list. I want to make it on the road, just like Bert has. I want to work them all while I'm still living. And there's the bottom line. Okay, if you're just on VHF, have a nice day. But if you get on HF, if you've ever been on HF and talked to someone else other than maybe a club member, maybe it was a club member, there's a confirmation waiting for you in Logbook of the World. When I check into the nets on Wednesday night, I log it. And those go in Logbook of the World. When you go in Logbook of the World and say, show me my confirmations, download those confirmations, you'll see confirmations from me. They're not worth any awards, mind you, other than, a cup of coffee maybe. In Logbook of the World, you can pull up a QSL report. Here's an example. It's kind of tedious, for a small screen like that. But I said, okay, show me, and I gave it some parameters. And, yes, show me all the W7CD ones, because I was 87B, I didn't want to see those, I didn't want to see my previous calls, and just show me since I got the new call. And so there it was. I worked in Poland, he was my first contact with the new call. And then it went right on down the list. These are confirmations. These aren't pending waiting for the other guys. These
Well,
are
the blanks are pendings.
Yes, this is true. There's nothing's appearing in there for this guy, and this is Asian, Russian.
They never confirm. I don't know what that is.
This guy, I had to do a card. UK9AA. UA4, I didn't even send him a card.
Yeah, that's Ukraine.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to do cards. You can go to each one of those, click on it since it's all hyperlinked, and there's the detail of that particular QSO. Notice what's there and notice what's not there. When you're working US stations particularly, especially in contests, they're county hunters. They want your county. There's also awards for the grids. There's a big push now for grids. All you digital operators know. That's part of the exchange now. Notice what's missing.
Signal report?
Signal report.
Frequency. Oh, there it is.
No freaks there. Freaks there in detail. As much detail as you want to put into it. No signal report. Signal reports are radically changing the mentality of it. And younger folk here may see the change occur away from the RST system. I won't. Most of us probably won't. But a question came up during the general meeting. So why 5.9? Yeah, because it's fast. 599. You don't want to get in, you don't want to slow down the other operator. Things are changing. Things are really, really changing. The detail of the actual signal. Why did we even come up with the signal report to begin with? It was a help for the other operator saying, okay, what kind of condition is my station in? For CW, 599. How many times did you ever give your old CW operators a report other than 5 something or 4 something, other than 9 for tone? I'm sorry, we're not in the spark gap days anymore. No one's adjusting that. It either works in CW or it's not CW. So things are changing. There's my WAS. I had a worked all states when I was younger, and that's all I was concerned about. That was the first award I was going to go for. It took me, about 2 years. That's where you just dial around, look for people, work a whole bunch of people, da-da-da-da-da. When I got back into it and the digital came along, I did a worked all states in 12 days. I've seen people do worked all states in a weekend now. It's crazy the way things are now.
There's a few people out there doing it even on voice on your phone. They're working all states in less than a month, but they set a goal.
Yeah.
And then they just sit down every day.
There are worked all states nets out there for crying out loud.
Yeah, absolutely.
It does say work all states, it's saying that.
Worked all counties for a clean sweep. Yeah.
What contest?
We had a bet, N7GG, the Kitsap County DX Club, just a breakfast group. Over breakfast one morning, we made a bet. This was Kip Edwards, W6SEN, now Silent Key. He said, I can do a DXCC in a weekend for the contest. I said, sure, go for it. He said, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to do FTA. Neither of us got 100 countries confirmed that weekend. He got 70 some, I got 80 some. Mine were all confirmed. He had to wait to send cards. Another advantage, instant feedback. There's my DXCC thus far, as far as Logbook of the World is concerned. This is important when you're dealing with Logbook of the World. Everybody gets confused what these columns mean. Total current, that means existing entities. Notice there's a difference of 2 here on mine. Czechoslovakia and East Germany are deleted. I have credit for them, but not as a current entity. They're gone. For instance, if I was #1 honor roll, which means all 340, and one drops off or another one comes in, bye-bye, I'm no longer on #1. You can't believe how many people wailed when Kosovo showed up. And now, there's guys in their 80s and 90s. They're in these pileups trying to work Kosovo because they want their #1 back. Sorry, you're in the pileup. If you're good, you'll get through it. But no, Kosovo ain't sending you a QSL card either. You have to use Logbook of the World. That's the only way they would confirm. But it breaks it down by mode, by band, and of course, the big one now is the challenge. The DXCC challenge is, okay, I worked Germany on 10 meters. That's 1 point. Now I work them on 12 meters. That's another point. I work them on 20. That's another point. The same country with different bands. As soon as you get 1,000, you've won it. Beautiful. And I don't mean just a piece of wallpaper. It's a monstrous plaque that weighs as much as a cat. I know because I picked up my cat and wanted to see which one it is. So the DXCC challenge. I'm at 1254 presently. It tops out, of course, somewhere north of 340 times number of bands. So if you get into the 3,000 club, yeah. And then once you actually get the award and pay for it. Now, I was asked, well, wait a minute, it's not really free, it does cost money. Yeah, it does. when you want the awards. From in Logbook of the World, when you go on the web, there's a little thing called application. When you have achieved the level for an award, you need to go in there and apply for the award. And it generally comes down to about 10 cents a contact, and then a $10 transaction fee. And that covers the printing and the postage to send you the award. Now, no, I didn't start out from the gate and pay 10 cents for the 1,000, because they had already been paid for. The concept is if it's already over in the totals, you're not paying for it. It's when it's sitting over in this column, it hasn't been paid for yet. So I've got 23 that I haven't paid for yet. I need to move them over, and that's with an online application. But I'm sandbagging those. I'll wait until I get 50 or so. Or, notice this. Look at my 10-meter total. 10 meters is dead, right? We're at that part of the cycle. And it's going to get even worse next year. Now they're predicting solar minimums may not be till 2020. Oh. And then we got to recover from it. You know, am I going to live long enough to see 10 meters open again? I hope, because I have 95. What happens when I get the next 5? I'll get a DXCC for 10 meters. Yeah. 10 and 15 and 20 and 40 and 80.
5-band.
5-band DXCC. That is one of my bucket list items. And what's interesting is, as soon as I get to 10 and have enough to be a 5-band, I automatically become a 7-band. Because you'll notice that 17 meters and 30 meters is already over 100. You can't do this without Logbook of the World. There's no paper application for these anymore. You have to do it online. Dan, you were saying that you liked to use Logbook of the World as your backup.
Right.
You can, but what are you going to miss?
Signal report.
Signal reports won't, because it's not there. If that's important to you, don't use Logbook of the World as your backup. Do some other backup mechanism. Stick it off in the cloud or something.
Same backup used for your photos and
Right.
everything else, like you should.
Just get an external hard drive and back up.
Well, you know, I don't look at it as a backup program. I look at it as it's there just by happening that I'm using Logbook to the
Okay. Now, data is data is data. It's very important that your data be as accurate, I say perfect, as you can make it. That match in Logbook of the World to get the confirmation has to be within 15 minutes to match the other. If your clock's off and his is on, you're not going to get a confirmation because it has to be within 15 minutes. Or you screwed up the date because you're from the US and you believe dates are abbreviated month, day, year. The rest of the world, including the rest of North America, says day, month, year.
It's like the military.
Yes. Oh.
How come we're not on the metric system?
When you get to that 30th month, you know, please tell me how you solve that one.
I like 27 hours.
Please enter your data accurately. That's why I say don't use Logbook of the World as your primary logging source. Use your local logging source and do it on the fly as you're working the people. Now, paper QSLs. What do you do with them? They can still be used.
Yep.
It's just a slower process. For WAS, you have a local resource. Ed is a WAS card checker.
I'm 7-band, worked all states.
There you go. You also have a nearby local resource with Dick Swanson.
Yeah, I did get WASs.
Yeah, Dick is, he's also on the DX advisory committee for the ARRL. There's one member for each division. And he is the president of N7PP, the South Hill Contest Club. It's no longer, what's his name, MM, who's left the area. Oh, well, Dick is now become the president of the club.
One of the things I found when I was working on my card for WAS, for card is that most of the guys, you send it to them, if you want a card back, you gotta take and put the self-addressed stamped envelope.
Oh, yeah,
So that means you're paying the card plus at least a buck.
right,
25 cents.
which is why I'm saying use your local
So it's
resource.
a dollar, basically a dollar a contact, you're looking at $50 just to get WAS.
Yeah. If you're doing WAS, there's your name, right there, using cards. If you're working on DX or these awards that you can get via Logbook of the World, if you're using cards, and you will have some cards. I'm sorry, not everybody overseas uses it. So you have to do the card thing. So I always have a handful of cards. I go to the monthly meeting, and he's always there. I sit down in the application, here's the cards. He's very good at checking them out. Signs it, he emails it in, hands me my cards back.
Oh, so what, you put it on a roster, then mail it in, is that how that works then?
You have applications there with all, what type of awards you're applying for, and it could be a 5-band or whatever there, or again, satellites, for example, CW, it's a combination of things, plus you got your application fees for each endorsement.
Oh, so
Right.
you do that at the time you want to get the award, you can't just have them put in Logbook of the World then?
Well, Logbook of the World, they do it back east, and the cards that are paper, I send that, give it to the applicant, he moves my paper that I signed.
You do not give the paper back to the applicant. You mail in the paper. You give him the cards back. If you're handing the paper back to him,
It's contaminating.
yes. And what happens is when you apply with cards, you pay it up front. And then back east, they enter it. Then what you do is you combine your card account with your Logbook of the World, and you can do that from within the Logbook of the World application online. And it'll suck them into one unified database. I've got, I don't know, 100 cards that I've had to use for my DXCC totals. They're still there. There's fewer and fewer, but
So I give you a shoebox full of cards and a donut, and you take care of them, right?
You fill out all the paperwork, and I compare the cards to the paperwork and
Yes.
fill it out, and then you get your cards.
okay, so here we are. Let me ask the question. What's the biggest advantage of using Logbook of the World?
Costs.
No. What was that first slide?
Speed.
No.
Instantation.
Instant
The
gratification.
final courtesy of a QSO is a QSL. If you're on HF, you should be QSLing. You can do that by using Logbook of the World. That's the #1 reason. Because everyone is. What was that slide with all the big number totals? And you get to more operating time, because you're not putting them in one at a time. As you're working them, you're putting it in your conventional log. And you're going to save money. Yes, you'll save a bunch of money. The more you operate, the more money you save. Look at it that way.